We're late, but we're here. What is up? We are talking about the West Virginia Mountaineers women's team falling short tonight against the Iowa Hawkeyes by the score of 64-54. A lot to talk about in this one, especially we want to talk about the officiating in this game tonight. But we are here with a live post-game edition of
Hoops from the Hills.
And we're also going to talk later in the show about the men's team and some of the transfers that may come over from Drake over to the Mountaineer squad. We're going to talk about that too later in the show, but we've got to talk about this women's game. We thank everybody for hopping into the chat. Man, what a game. I will say this. What an exciting basketball game this was to watch. I will give it that. But, yeah, I mean, Doormat, 30 free throws to 5. I mean, on their home floor. We're going to get into a lot of that. First, Paul, I want to get your thoughts on the game. I mean, I know you were watching it.
Yeah. Look, what did I tell you today? What did I say needed to happen when we win this game? Do you remember? About the score?
Yeah. Yeah, and they did. They pretty much did it.
And they pretty much did that.
Yeah.
You know, I said it, it looked so insurmountable because West Virginia could have held Iowa to half their season average in scoring and still themselves not average more than that, which was right around 50 points, 48, 50, somewhere in there, 46. So, it's no secret that the women's team, our women's team, is even worse than some of these Bob Huggins teams I've seen on offense. It's pretty bad.
Right.
And they played a little bit better than they usually do tonight. So, but overall, I'm used to announcers being biased and against us. It truly feels like, and I know people on the outside say we're crazy, but it's nice when finally people recognize it for what it is. Like tonight, which Couz is finding some people, national media, there's an outcry. This was an obvious hit job. The West Virginia are falling at the feet of Caitlin Clark, who, by the way, guys, I personally don't have a problem with Caitlin Clark. I think she's a great player. And she does complain to the refs a lot. But the fact that she's famous and everything like she is has more to do with what they tried to stir up last year in the national championship game with race, in my opinion, than anything else. So she's kind of a victim of those circumstances in a sense, if you look at it that way. But certainly, she got all the calls tonight. Iowa got all the calls tonight. Couz even brought up that they called that foul 21 seconds to go to let her get the record, which was, listen, at the end of the day, I think ESPN they've got too much power. Somebody, I don't know if it's possible, somebody should probably try to sue them. It seems like that they've monopolized all the sports that matter, at least money-wise. So all that, man, is really frustrating, and I really hate it for those girls. But they have another year. Iowa doesn't, or at least with their players they have. These girls got another year. They got money, and they're going to spend it, and they're going to come back. And listen, if they add some offensive playmakers, that team's going to be dangerous next year. I'm talking about Final Four dangerous. They need a couple scorers, that they were running a 4-out motion tonight, and they just have no shooters, and unfortunately, and they hit some shots tonight, but if they can get a couple shooters that can also play defense, that's the problem. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
Do we need to do the sponsor real quick?
Yeah, we probably should before we forget. The shooter thing, I mean, obviously Quinterly can shoot it. But she was playing. She wasn't 100% tonight. That was pretty obvious, I think that hurt him a little bit. But, yeah, let's go ahead and give a shout-out to our sponsor, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it.
This episode of Hoops from the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time.
With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, The Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for.
Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in person today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you.
As Paul was talking, I was pulling up tweets from national media people about this game tonight. Bill Simmons. I think we all know who Bill Simmons is, right? I think he used to be on ESPN. I know he used to be on one of the big outlets. Pretty sure it was ESPN. He says the following: If Iowa played the Lakers, who would get more calls? About the same time, Dan Walken from USA Today Sports. This is absurd, absolutely infuriating. I feel for the West Virginia team. They've played a better game than Iowa, and they're not going to get rewarded at all. Hope these refs don't advance. There was another one Dan put out too I wanted to read. Let me see if I can find it. West Virginia is getting jobbed by these refs. The foul call Iowa just got and the one West Virginia didn't get on the other end. My God, not even close to being fair. We had Josiah Harris talking about how West Virginia was getting screwed by the refs. I mean, this a men's player. Players are kind of trained not to talk bad about officiating, right?
Yeah.
It's all over social media. And I know Iowa fans, if they're watching this, they're going to come on here and that's fine. I'm sure they're going to say we're making excuses. And would West Virginia still have won the game? I don't know. But it would at least be nice to have a fair shot at it without having to play. I mean, you're already playing the best player in the country, and then you have to play the referees on top of it. It's just infuriating. But I want to give a shout out. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I watched Paige Beckers play today. Listen, man, I'll take her any day. I think she's as good as Caitlin Clark. Listen, just go on. That girl is a monster, dude. I'll take her right up there with Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. And 30-5 in free throw differences. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch that young lady play that you're talking about. I'm familiar with her. But Caitlin does shoot the ball a lot. I mean, she just, a lot of people are saying she's a ball hog, but when you shoot the ball that well, you're going to have the green light to shoot it pretty much every time you touch it. So I don't necessarily blame her for that.
Yeah, no, she's a way better shooter.
Yeah, she talks a lot of smack. She runs her mouth to the referees a lot. Her dad seems like a real nice guy, and I'm being facetious. He told some guy to get his hands off of him in the stands, I noticed once. The guy was just trying to congratulate him on his daughter, and I think he basically told him to leave him alone. But anyway, I don't want to get off on a side tangent. But yeah, it was terrible how the referees like I said, it's just I hate to be the guy that gets on here and says it's the referee's fault, and I'm not going to go that far. But it definitely played a role in the game, and I don't see how anybody watching it could say it didn't. But hats off to this West Virginia women's team. What a great year for Coach Kellogg to get them in the tournament and win a game in his first season. They played an exciting brand of basketball with that full court press. We have J.J. Quinley, arguably one of the best defensive. I don't even think it's arguable. She is one of the best defensive players in the country. Jordan Harrison, a very exciting point guard. Some really, really good talent and players on this team. Most of them have eligibility left too. That's what's so cool about it. Was there
Hemingway?
Yes. Hemingway.
I love the defense. I love how she plays defense too.
Yeah.
I think I could see what Kellogg went after, but he's got to bring it back towards the middle just a little bit with offense. The thing is that style we've seen firsthand can get you pretty deep in the tournament, but ultimately when you end up against a Duke like we did, there's that could really shoot. It's just kryptonite for a defense like that. For a team constructed with one or two guards that can score, and everybody else is defensively heavy. That's like an understatement. Like, this is way defensively heavier than Hugs teams were.
Right.
At the height of it,
right.
with West Virginia and stuff. So these girls can't even make open shots. Some of them. I'm not trying to be mean, but
Right.
they played well tonight. But on the other side, they're giving their all. So it kind of takes your legs out too.
Right. Yeah, and it's offense is not there. The team is built on defense, not offense, and that's if he can go out and get, like you said, bring in a couple, maybe a couple more scores or a couple more good shooters out of the portal, or even from the high school ranks, that could help them a lot going into next season. And they did miss. Look, and the referees aside, the West Virginia women missed a lot of easy looks tonight. I watched them miss at least 2 layups in the fourth quarter, wide open layups at that. I saw a couple 3-pointers that didn't even come close, a couple air balls. So, I mean, they could have played better in spots, but, man, the heart they play with, the effort they play with, they never give up, never quit. You got to hand it to them, man. It's a fun team to watch for sure.
Agreed.
I'm gonna do a quick screen share here. It's not just you, Couz. Thanks, man. I'm gonna do a quick screen share here, and we're gonna look at the stats.
I don't.
Got what'd you say?
Oh, my headphones are saying battery level low inside of them. But I had them charging while the game was on the whole time.
Oh.
My cats probably got up here and knocked them loose.
Field goals, obviously 21 to 62 and 17 to 47, 34% to 36%. 3-point percentage, 5 for 22 for Iowa, 9 for 34 for West Virginia. Neither team shot the ball very well. Free throws, 3 for 5 for West Virginia, 25 of 30 for Iowa. Rebounds, 42-35 in favor of Iowa. Assists, 14-7 in favor of West Virginia. Steals, 8-4 West Virginia. Blocks, 5-4 Iowa. Total turnovers, Iowa had 15, West Virginia had 9. West Virginia scored 19 points off of those turnovers. Also had 13 fast break points to Iowa 6. The points in the paint was tied, and the foul differential was 27-11. So there's the team stats. And then as far as box score goes, for West Virginia, you had J.J. Quinley with 15 points.
Are you ready to meet?
She also had 3 steals. Kaya Watson had 13 points. Hemingway had 10. Moore had 8. And then Harrison had only 3 points, but also had, she was in foul trouble a lot tonight. But she did have 9 assists on the night, so not a bad night from an assist standpoint. And of course, Caitlin Clark, 32 points, 8 rebounds, 2 steals. She did turn it over 6 times, so she wasn't perfect tonight by any means.
That's a trend for her. She's always done that.
Yeah, she was 5 of 14 from 3, 8 of 22 from the floor, 11 of 12 from the free throw line. And then you had and I can't pronounce these names, Falter and Stwelke with 13 and 12, and then Martin had 7 for Iowa. So there's all your key stats for the night, for the game, for both teams. Really,
yeah.
The difference was the free throw line. I mean, that was it.
Right. The calls.
Yeah.
So this is the end of the road for this West Virginia women's team. And you look at it, what do they need to do to improve? Well, you look at it, they've got to get depth behind the 2 starting guards because of the way they play. We saw it with Dax and Javon. They lend themselves to be fouled to a lot of fouls. And they've got to get 2 guards that can come in behind them so they're not so scared to play the press all the time, because he can't play it a lot as much as he wants to because of number 1, depth, number 2, fouls. Mm-hmm. So this, and it's year 1. Makes sense, right? Similar to how Neil Brown talked about football. You have to build it up. You have to build your roster up. And I think next year is going to be a year. This coming year is their look out for the Mountaineers if they get I don't know what they're going to do in the portal. We do. They had a huge gift that was given to them, and assuming they still have it, they've got the money to spend. So I'll be excited to see what they do with it. Depth, absolutely, quality depth, and some scoring obviously around the wings on the inside this team will be really dangerous with that style.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching them next year, man. I'm excited. I can't recall a time ever being this excited to watch women's basketball at West Virginia. So I'm looking forward to next season, man. And I love this team. I love the effort they play with. And again, Coach Kellogg, love him. Love the way he's embraced West Virginia. And he's got a daughter, guys. Be on the lookout for her in about 3 years. One of the best players in the state of West Virginia. As a freshman in high school, she was a first-team All-State player.
She made one from the logo earlier today. Did you see that?
Yes. So maybe she'll be a Mountaineer one day. Let's hope. Paul, anything else you want to say about the women's game before we switch gears here?
No, probably need to switch gears kind of fast before my headphones die on me.
Yeah.
Don't mean we got to get off here real quick, but
I get it. No, I get it. It's late anyway, and I got to go to bed soon, so it's all good. The other topic we want to talk about, I wasn't even going to address that, but you can if you want to.
At the end of the day, somebody else posted it, and I reposted it then, you know?
Yep.
So
it wasn't even him that
you
did it.
said it. You said it, and you paid to say it. I mean, that's the truth, right? You paid to come on here and talk crap about our coaching hire and say he was going to go to Iowa. Don't be mad.
Yeah, it was actually
it's all in fun, man.
One of our viewers
it's all
posted
in good fun.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in good fun, bro. It's not like I said something about your family. So, talking about DeVries, I've seen some, or DeVries. I'll never quit saying DeVries, will I?
And his name's Darren, by the way. I've been saying his first name wrong. It's
Darren, yeah.
I've been saying Darian. It's not.
Same here.
Darren. So I'm going to have to correct that. But anyway, I didn't want to interrupt you.
That's all right, man. So should have probably had articles ready to go, but obviously the entire roster has gone to the transfer portal today. If you're not aware, of that, at right, who is a 6'1", 170-pound guard. He started out in California. He's another one of these great Division II finds by Darren DeVries. And this kid came in, gave Washington State 20, averaged right around 15 points a game. He is a bucket, walking bucket. Great pull up mid game. Like he's that guy that comes off that top screen at the top of the key and pulls it up at the elbow. And he's really good with it. He's also got a great step back game. He is a little bit on the smaller side, so in the paint he can finish well, but he's going to have to get a little stronger to be able to, in my opinion, in the Big 12. You move on. Obviously, Tucker DeVries is an NBA prospect, guys. He was a 4-star player. He would have went anywhere in the country he wanted to go out of high school. He chose to go with his dad, obviously. No surprise there. So this is a 6'7", Luka Doncic type player without the passing ability. He's not as good as a passer. But he's 6'7". He can really score it, guys. He averaged 21 a game. We're talking about a guy in the Big 12. You're looking at anywhere from 17 a game. I always knock a few points off. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him get around that number for us this year. Defense, not his specialty, but it's always something you can get better at. As we know, DeVries plays the pack line defense, which is what Tony Bennett plays, which is what Sean Miller plays, Xavier, which is they go under screens, they pack in the paint, and it's all about helping in recovery defense. Nobody gets inside the paint and contest all shots. They run a 5-out motion offense on the break, which is really hard to explain, but I have some videos that maybe we'll have to go over someday. But basically the way they work on it is they make certain calls. They line up 3 guys. They basically do the figure 8 drill with 3 guys. And about halfway down the court, they make certain calls and tell them which way to go at the very last minute. And then they have to think on the fly and do it similar to the way you would in the break. And then finally, I mentioned Tucker DeVries. And then Kevin Overton, the true freshman who is just a find, an absolute find, 6'5", 11 points a game as a freshman. He's going to have a lot of suitors, but the word on the street is all three of these guys are on their way to West Virginia. We'll see if it happens because I know how the portal works, Couz.
Right. Yeah, it's has Tucker DeVries officially entered the portal yet?
No, but you heard Brad House say it last night on 3
I know,
Guys.
but it's a little weird that he's the one that hasn't entered yet and everybody else has. You know?
Right. Well, I mean, it does, maybe the paperwork wasn't filed yet, but or who knows? You know.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
He's got a girlfriend.
I'm a little concerned about it. I ain't gonna lie to you. Maybe he decides not to do it. I don't know.
I'd be shocked.
It says West Virginia found their guy, and it seems like everyone is pretty. This is from hillwestvirginia.com. Pretty happy about it in Morgantown. Not only does this hire bring an experienced and successful coach to the program, but it can also bring players from his previously successful program. Darren DeVries is coming to West Virginia from a Drake program that has 6 straight seasons of 20 or more wins. Let's get down here. Okay, here's the talks about the players. You got Tucker DeVries expected to join the roster. You've got see, who else did he talk about? Yeah, well, basically the guys you mentioned. He mentions Wright in here in the article.
Overton.
Drake's at and Wright, yeah. I don't know if Overton's. Let me see. We're doing this on the
They all went at different times. They all went at different times today.
Right.
So
yep, right. Here's Wright's right up. He was the first to do so after the announcement of DeVries heading to West Virginia. The timing seems to make it seem like Wright wants to follow his former head coach. Wright would be coming as a senior at West Virginia, the 6'1" guard, and it could be his third school in 3 years. Typically, transferring 3 times in 3 years is not common, but with the transfer portal, it is seen more often than not. In his one season with the Bulldogs, Wright started every game for DeVries and averaged 14.1 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game, and shot 45.8% from the floor and 40.6% from behind the arc. Outside shooting was a problem for the Mountaineers this season, and outside shooting, other than battle, is something West Virginia desperately needs. Well,
I'm excited about Overton.
They needed Battle's leaving, so I'm not sure why Battle was included in that phrase there, but anyway.
Right. No.
Kevin Overton,
there he
Paul
is.
mentioned. As a freshman, Overton played and started in every game at Drake. He averages 11.3 points, 3.3 rebounds, and shoots 44% from the floor, 24.6% from beyond the arc. Kobe Garland wasn't a starter for DeVries except for 2 games, but he came off the bench and played an average of 19.7 minutes. He don't have gaudy numbers or anything. 5.7 points, 2.2 assists. I don't look for all these guys to come to West Virginia. More than likely.
The other little point guard, Couz, is another kid to what I say kid, he's a man, but another one to watch out for. Mm-hmm. Very similar to Kirk Risa. Not as dynamic in my opinion. He's a little smaller. Do you remember him? I don't mean this in any bad way, but he's kind of got like a maybe like a Jewish or Armenian kind of look to him. Really dark hair, really long hair. He was good. I mean, he really had a nice touch from outside. He's small for the Big 12. One thing I worry about here, I think these guys can be great for continuity. And listen, these guys won a bunch of games in Washington State. The way they were constructed this year is about as good as the top half of the Big 12. And it's a great comparison because they had a ton of length and athleticism on defense. So I think you can compare that backcourt and what they did to Washington State and how they played against them. Now, over the course of the season, completely different story.
Yeah.
But I really do believe that the guards at Drake can play at the Big 12 level. They did have a big guy that a lot of people think can transfer as well. I don't know. How would you guys feel about the entire Drake team transferred over that got knocked out basically in the first round of the tournament? I mean, obviously there are some pieces here already. We have to see what else is added. I'm not saying I'm not excited. It's definitely a step up over where we were. But I just think, I'd like to just kind of grab 3 or 4 of those guys that are really good and then kind of go another direction, maybe.
No, I agree. I don't think he'll bring everybody to West Virginia. I mean, I'm sure DeVries is a good enough coach and is, he's seen enough Power 5 basketball to know, hey, this guy's a fit, this guy's not,
Got to scale it up.
Yeah, and I'm sure he knows that. I mean, obviously his son Tucker's going to be good enough to play at the Power 5 level. Overton probably is good enough, and then Wright. The other guys, I'm not sure. But again, I trust his coach and his staff to make the right call. And but yeah, it'll be nice to have. I'd like to see, just like Coach Kellogg did with the women's team. He had 6 or 7 girls who stayed on from last year's team. He had several that he brought in. He had 1 or 2 that he brought over from Stephen F. Austin from his previous stop. Jordan Harrison, the point guard, being one of those, who happens to be my favorite player on the team. And he combined that with some transfers he got from other schools. So, I mean, he had a mixture, and I look for DeVries to do something similar. He'll probably try to keep as many of the current guys as he can, and that he feels as a fit, like maybe Kerr and a few others. And then he'll combine that with 3 or 4 guys from Drake, and then he'll go out and get some guys from some other places. That's how I think he'll do it. And I think it's a good mixture,
I'm telling you what, Noah Farrakhan is another one, guys.
Yeah.
I know he was hit and miss last year, but an offense like this is so well suited to him and Kerr, both. But Noah especially, because it's predicated on, obviously, you can run it a couple different ways, but it's basically 4 week. Listen, I watched his practice videos today for hours. That's why I'm able to rattle all this off. But they basically play 4 guys around the wing, 1 big guy that flashes up to the high post in different spots around the low post area. And they fit it into their different gaps and try to get shots off. They have cuts off of that. And sometimes they'll throw another point forward, kind of like Quinn Slazinski in there. Mm-hmm. So for extra rebounding, Overton played that role a lot for them this year, even though he's only 6'5". But it's a really fun offense. But what it allows is really quick, fast, and explosive players like Noah Farrakhan really excel, like if Joe Toussaint would have excelled in this offense, because you can really get to the cup.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris Mitchell brings up a good point here with this comment. He says, being small a couple tourney games is one thing. Being small the whole Big 12 schedule will be tough. Look how Battle struggled with the size and physicality adjustment this year. Yeah, that's fair, and that's why I would like to see. They definitely need some bigs on the team.
He's not small though, Chris. He's 6'4". I mean, I get what you're saying. Your point stands.
Yeah.
Your point stands. Sorry, I didn't mean
the weight
to cut you
room.
off.
No, that's okay. The weight room. Jay brings up a good point. He says they just got to hit the weight room, and that's at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. Matthew says he just wants DeVries, Wright, and Overton. Drumwolf 62 says take as many as we can get because they already know his system.
Right.
So we appreciate you guys answering the question. Timothy Green says please like and subscribe. We like that comment. You guys, we got a bunch of you in here. 180 people to be exact. There's no way for us to answer every single comment. So if you want to make sure we see it, drop a super chat below. It's also a way you can support our channel and help us keep the lights on, help us continue to do this and hopefully improve the content we're bringing you guys down the road. Curtis D says the amount of people coming out on Twitter that refs robbed of you. It's amazing, isn't it? National media people, former West Virginia players, NBA players. I mean, you name it. I'll tell you what, West Virginia's women's, despite the loss tonight, that West Virginia women's team earned themselves some respect tonight, in my opinion. Everybody in the country knows that the West Virginia's women's team's no joke.
It's a great way to end the season. You're right. Because I was looking at that Iowa team like that's what it takes in women's ball to make a Final Four. I was not impressed with it. Maybe they had a bad game. Maybe maybe it being the last game in that stadium or arena, coupled with the all the pressure they're really under for Iowa. You know, this is something happening in Iowa. Maybe that's it, you know, but I really do think they've got something to build off of. Mark, listen, if I'm somebody and I watch that game tonight, if you already knew about Kellogg, listen, he's a good coach. I can tell you that right now. Watching him operate on the floor, very involved, very energetic. I love seeing that. Reminds me of Buzz Williams jumping up and down.
Yeah.
I'd hire Mark Kellogg. His 1-year audition at West Virginia has been knocked it out of the park.
Yep. Big Aaron makes another great point. She's making them too much money. They're going to ride her as far as they can get away with.
Hell yeah, they will. That's exactly what I was trying to say to somebody earlier. You know, they were mad at the announcers, but they were probably told to pro Caitlin Clark. I mean, if you were making a bunch of money off somebody, it's just human nature, man.
Yeah.
You know? Plus, they're basketball fans, and what she's doing is historic in a lot of ways. If you're just looking at it objectively and not as a WVU fan. So there's that too.
Yeah. Back to the DeVries conversation. KF says one would think that DeVries would go after a center or two as high priority. And I think he will. I think he will. I mean, obviously, Jesse's going to be gone from West Virginia, so he's going to need somebody. And Sumnick, if he decides to come back, he's not a true 5. He's really more of a 4.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see him go out and get a true 5. Actually, a couple of them. You need more than one, as we saw this year.
Federico's in the portal.
He is. Fetty.
He wouldn't be bad as a backup type player. I mean, he could start, but I wouldn't really. He's on the low end, you know. He's like a 6 points a game type player, but great defense.
Yeah. Yep. But anyway, keep your eyes out, guys. Look, Ethan Bach and his team over at the Portal Report are constantly monitoring the transfer portal. They know who's in, who's out. So Ethan's always posting stuff on X about, you know, new updates and things like that. So keep an eye out on X for Ethan Bach's account. He'll keep you updated, as well as, you know, pretty much anybody who's following college basketball in West Virginia will do the same.
Who are you talking about, good Chuck? Just curious. Everybody's always going to join somebody in South Carolina when you're in here, bud.
Yeah, who you talking about, Chuck? We would like to know because I'm not sure who you're referring to there.
Yeah. Here we go.
WVU is on the way up. Drum Wolf, thank you for the $9.99 super chat, my man. We appreciate the support.
He said Federico.
Oh,
okay, yeah.
I didn't know he had a brother at South Carolina. That's interesting.
I wonder why his parents. I mean, maybe it's a traditional thing, but why did he name him the same name twice? Federico. They call him Fetty.
Well, a lot of those, some of those foreign countries do that. I don't know what the reason is. I mean, a cook, same thing. Then that wasn't his whole name, though. I mean, his name was actually pretty long, is my understanding. But that's just
I looked at it one time. It's like Akakalonga. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was a long one. Drum Wolf, I appreciate the support, brother. Really do.
It means a lot, man. It really does. They're definitely on the way up. It's an exciting time to be a Mountaineer fan right now. I mean, it really is. We finally got some positive news around the basketball program. Football team, spring practice started today. A lot of positives around the football program. The women's team, you know, even though they lost tonight, they fought hard. They look good. They're on the national scene now. They're competitive, making noise in the Big 12. Baseball team's doing okay. Finished top 25 in wrestling, for those of you who care about that. First time in many years, got 2 All-Americans. So, I mean, made it to the Final Four in soccer. Rifle team still competing for national titles, for those who care about that kind of stuff. But, I mean, it's just West Virginia athletics is in a good spot right now, I think. Now, obviously, we got to see the proof is in the pudding, as they say, with basketball. But I'm really, really confident that Darren DeVries is the right guy to lead his program. I think he's going to be a cultural fit. I think he'll embrace the state. I think the state will embrace him. I think they already have to a degree. I'm really looking forward to his press conference on Thursday. I cannot wait to hear him talk, hear him address the fan base and the players. And I'll tell you what'll tell us a lot too. Probably is, well, I don't know. I don't know if I don't want to read too much into it, but it'll be interesting to see how many guys that are currently on the team hang around once they have a chance to meet him.
Great point.
Just like the women did. I mean, when they brought Kellogg in, everybody, we assumed that a lot of the ladies would leave that went to the NCAA tournament a year ago. That didn't happen because they met Coach Kellogg and they really liked what he had to say. They trusted him and they stayed and hung around for him. And, good things are happening.
Well, outside of Kerr and probably a couple guys on this roster, you're moving probably down at least to like the Big East or the Sun Belt, ACC, AAC. A lot of these guys aren't moving up or laterally based off the way the season went. It's just nobody had a good year really outside of a couple players. So there's nothing great, and so I think she's got a shot to keep a lot of players. Kerr could go wherever he wanted still. He would still have Power 5 opportunities. I think Farrakhan would too, but maybe Slaz. But outside of that, if he gets cleared, I don't know. I'm probably missing somebody, but I think the other guys would be because
maybe
always,
Osprey.
Maybe.
Yeah. Michael Williams says, "Hello there, you two juicy honey buns." I actually like honey buns, believe it or not. One of my favorite desserts.
A lot of you guys know I have a background like I do. I'm in recovery. I talk about it all the time, very open about it. I'll say all that to say, people that are in recovery at one point in time, they have a certain kind of background. And when I was away one time, we used to make these things called sugar rushes, and this is not good for you. But it's 2 honey buns, iced honey buns. It's got peanut butter on it, layered with name a couple different candy bars and Oreos on top of peanut butter, and then smacked on another honey bun, and then microwaved, and then you can get some like vanilla extract from the kitchen and put it in some flour and make a little drizzle out of it. I mean, it gets bad.
Sounds pretty good, actually.
it's really good, but it's like you're like, what am I doing to myself here?
Like diabetes in one meal, one snack.
Yeah. We called it the Wilford Brimley Express.
Diabetes.
Yeah.
Wilford Brimley used to say diabetes. If you got diabetes like me, oh man, that's a good story. Cool story, man. See what other comments we got here, guys. Drummel says you're making him hungry.
My bad, man.
Timothy says he's starved to death now.
I got some homemade chicken and dumplings in there I made yesterday.
KF says, honestly, no slight to our current players. We need to upgrade for most of them. Timothy says he's already looking forward to next year. Markets and Moto says he thinks Ren Becker is possibly to be the greatest hire in WVU history.
I think he said that yesterday too, didn't he? Or somebody did.
I think it was him. Yeah. Yeah. Curtis D says he wants to see the women's team get a good size big for next year. The big they got, Eric Babu, she didn't even play tonight. I guess they didn't figure she was a good matchup for Iowa.
Yeah, and Blackston
she was in foul.
She's pretty long. She's long and lanky, but she really can shoot it, but she just kind of. Obviously, there are other bigs out there. You see what UConn's got, teams like that. I'd like to see WVU get a big like those teams have.
Absolutely.
Also, love to see the men's team get another Jesse Edwards. Be great.
Yeah, really.
But if these Drake, another thing that you got to think, guys, if these Drake guys come outside of Tucker, you have to assume that he's going to get a sizable NIL deal. Just because he's coming with his dad doesn't mean he don't deserve that. So I don't know. You know, Brad Howell said this: if he was on the open market, he would be a top 5 portal player. So that's how good he is. Like, Brad knows. You know what I mean? Brad Howell is as knowledgeable about all this as anybody. I have a lot of respect for how he looks at the game and breaks it down. It is very analytical sometimes, but he was just talking about DeVries as a player. And looking at his tape today, offensively, he is extremely – he'd be the best offensive player we've had in a long time. Better than Eric Stevenson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. CRT, as Curtis says, CRT is supposedly getting donations pretty good after the hiring of DeVries. KF says, I was looking at the men's portal top 25 list. There are a lot of centers on there. And Jacob Yoho says, sorry, I got something in my throat.
Jacob's always got something like this to say. I like it. Jacob Yoho, he says, how do you know they did not put Tucker's money in with his dad's behind closed doors? The guys that are at the university right now, Britt Baker, Gordon Gee, I honestly would be surprised if they did something like that. I don't, unless it's commonplace and we don't know about it, because that would be really illegal. I know you're probably not being 100% serious, but I could certainly, I wouldn't be mad about it.
Gamecock Chuck, thank you, man. Thanks for hopping in, and everybody go check out Gamecock Chuck's channel. He covers South Carolina Gamecock sports. Does a lot of really good stuff on. You talk about women's basketball matters in South Carolina, man. His South Carolina women's content blows up on YouTube. So go check out Gamecock Chuck. Covers all South Carolina sports for the most part.
Hey, Brendan.
What's up, Brendan? Yeah, Chris Mitchell says hopefully his dad gives him an allowance so we can keep the NIL for other guys. Hey, pay him NIL money, man. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous because to me he would have been the first one to hit the portal if he was coming. But so I'm a little bit nervous that he hadn't yet. Maybe there was just some paperwork. Maybe the paperwork takes a little longer for some guys than it does others. Maybe there's an academic thing he's got to work out as far as what classes he can transfer and all that. You know, all that stuff matters too.
In my opinion, the only thing that can go wrong is that girlfriend situation. You know, like if you don't know, his girlfriend plays on the softball team. I said it last night. She's a very physically attractive girl, so which is not surprising, being who he is. It'd be hard to leave. You know, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was speaking with somebody, the Iowa Press today. I forgot to mention this, and he was already thinking about transferring to Creighton. Even if his dad stayed at Drake for another year, so that he can get some more national exposure, because he needs it, obviously, for his profile, NBA profile. So I think this is it's a no-brainer move for him in his career. To think that listen, I've made some bad choices over women in my life, but to think that he would do that, you know, give up this year at the best level, not the next level, the best level, the Big 12, to stay in the Missouri Valley would be dangerous to his career.
Well, who's to say he doesn't end up going to Creighton anyway?
That would be a shocker.
That's a possibility. Creighton's in the Big East. They get some national attention.
You're just pessimistic. It's all right.
I'm just being serious. Maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he wants to see what it's like to play for somebody other than his dad. You know.
I mean, Tony Caridi, Brad Howell, and everybody has already said that they've heard his dad say he was going with him. That's like as good as you can get, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, did you listen to the Three Guys episode?
I didn't. Only one I heard was the one immediately after the announcement. I didn't hear the one today.
They said it in both.
Yeah, I heard
the one last night. You know,
yeah, I heard that.
Things can change, though. I'm not saying they can't change. I mean, I don't have an inside source on this.
Right.
So.
And KF makes a good point. Maybe he's just going to wait until his dad does his press conference. You know, they've got to be careful that they don't get in trouble for
Exactly. That too.
They don't want there to look like there was tampering going on or anything. So maybe he wants to wait a while. Maybe they figure if he's the first one to jump in, it looks suspicious.
Yeah, ESPN said he is too. That's right, Luke.
So maybe he doesn't want it to look suspicious, you know. So he's taking his time.
I think I was talking to somebody about this earlier today, Couz. I don't think it is tampering if it's your dad. I truly think there's a rule out there that if it's your dad, or some kind of exception out there, that if it's your family member that's the coach or your dad, there can't be tampering in that situation. It's your dad, you know. We'll have to see. The other players, though, big different story. But you would think those guys have won 2 Missouri Valley championships together. That backcourt.
Yeah.
God, you know they want to do it on the Big 12 stage. What a story that would be.
Yep.
And we're going to be here to tell it to you.
Speaking of Marshall, Daniel agrees with you. How can it be tampering when it's his dad?
Right.
D'Antoni was let go at Marshall today. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah. They promoted an assistant.
They did already?
Yes.
Interim or full time?
I didn't see. I was just told. Okay. So I didn't get to see. So that's not an actual fact because I was told, but I haven't fact checked it. But
I got you.
Somebody would know, you know. So
yeah.
But some people mentioned Huggins for that job. I think that's might have where you've been going. I personally don't think that he would even sniff that job if it was offered to him, because it would be, unless he's looking to stab West Virginia University in the back. And maybe I'm being too harsh here. Maybe tell me if you disagree. But Marshall is right there with Pitt, right? In Virginia Tech, to me, personally. But I grew up in this area. In that area. I live in that area. You know. It means a little more to me. I don't know. I hate Marshall. I love telling my people. Everybody around me is a Marshall fan, you know. So I love telling them 12-0. I love it. I love telling them we beat them in the tournament, beat their best player they've ever had in the tournament. I love it. So, you know, if Huggins went to Marshall, to me, it'd be the ultimate slap in the face. But I would be there to watch probably because it's 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah. I think your mic's dying, Paul.
It is dead.
But anyway, I don't really. I'm trying to think how to say this. I don't have as much animosity toward Marshall as I do like Pitt or Virginia Tech or some of those other schools. I actually cheer for Marshall when they're not playing West Virginia, to be honest with you. I don't watch them a lot. I'm not passionate about them or anything like that. I just but I don't really have that same animosity. Now, I get into it with their fan base quite a bit. Daniel Sargent, and then I think someone else earlier said it was a full-time contract. Todd Withrow. Thanks for that information. In Oklahoma State, I saw earlier Josh Schertz. I saw one report that said Josh Schertz was maybe the guy they had kind of targeted for that job. So it'll.
Louisville.
What about Josh Schertz for Louisville?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
They're looking at him too.
Wow. I'm sure Louisville fans aren't happy about it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh. I just know that they're talking about him as a possibility. We'll see. Yeah. I think Oklahoma State thought Danny Sprinkle was going to be their guy too, and he went to Washington.
Right.
So Oklahoma State's really lost out bad this round of Louisville too. somehow we've done better than they have in this coaching cycle. So all those people out there that said that West Virginia was a worse job than Oklahoma State and Louisville, which we know we're not better than Louisville with their Louisville, but Oklahoma State, I was debating that one, So at the end of the day, it looks like we were, at least in this case.
Yep. Daniel Sargent says he's a 99.4% with his women's bracket. Congratulations, my man. That's awesome.
Somebody said, "Shut up, Dave."
That's funny. Big Aaron says that's Ren Baker magic. Man, I hope so. And I hope he stays for a long time, man. I really do. I worry that when Gee leaves, he'll leave too. But maybe not. I mean, I'm sure he knew coming in that Gee wasn't going to be around forever. So, if not, he wasn't paying attention. You know what I mean? You don't go to work for a guy who's 77, 78 years old and expect,
Oh, yeah. Listen, we know he's the short timer here if the right job opens up.
Yeah.
Anything out his neck of the woods, like, surprised he didn't do the Missouri job. Don't know if he was offered the job there or not. As we know, their board of governors is like apparently one of the worst to work for in all of college sports. So maybe that had something to do with it. He had already worked there in the past that knows that. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, if you get an Oklahoma State, Oklahoma opening, Texas Tech, anything like that, anything out that way, he's going to be a top candidate for all the jobs that open. But anything out that way specifically, good luck. It's going to be tough to keep.
Absolutely. I agree. Especially if Oklahoma State ever comes open.
Yeah, that would
or Oklahoma.
But we have to, we also have to realize that he may not be number one on their list. He's not going to be number one on every list. He may be top 3.
Right.
So
there's a lot of good ADs out there.
Yeah.
And
he's done great for us, but
yeah,
he hasn't done enough to be considered like the best. You know what I mean?
Not yet. No, it's too early. Too early for that yet. Yeah, too early for that yet. But he's making huge strides towards that. But
yeah,
he's only been on a job 14 or 15 months. So
the state of the program is just incredibly.
Kelvin Sampson, top of the list for Oklahoma State.
That's not going to happen unless there's some kind of personal tie there. Why would he leave?
I don't see Houston. I don't see Houston. He almost left Houston last year, but it was for an NBA job, I think. So maybe he's not happy there. Kellen Sampson. Who's Kellen Sampson?
He probably means Kelvin.
But he said it. But he typed it. Oh, his son. His son.
Oh,
okay. Gotcha. I wasn't familiar with him. My fault. Interesting. Man, if they have to go, they have to settle for. And I don't mean to throw shade at the young man because he might be a great coach, but their fans are not going to be happy if they have to settle for an assistant.
What's up? Is everybody mad at Bryce Drew for the way he coached the other night? He made some bad calls down the stretch. It was all over the news. People talked about it. So Charles Barkley talked about it or Kenny Smith, one of the two, talked about it for like 10 minutes. I was listening to it. I didn't see that. I was in here cooking. I heard it. They said breaking or something about Bryce Drew, the bad calls he made down the stretch of the Grand Canyon game. So I knew, listen, I'm glad we didn't get him, guys. I really felt like that 0-18 record of the SEC where the coaching is better matters. It matters. I don't care if he was in his 30s or not. You can't go 0-18 with 2 lottery picks without being deficient somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
Chris Mitchell said it was Barkley.
I think I even mentioned that to you, didn't I, Paul? When after that game was over, I messaged you and said that some of the coaching decisions were strange.
You might have.
Was it that game or another one?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look, but I mean, I'm sure you probably did.
I think it was that one because it was like he didn't, instead of going for 2, he went for 3, and I thought that was stupid. I think it was that game, but anyway,
you did say that.
That's neither here nor there. Curtis said he came off kind of soft in his press conference. He thought. WVU Fan 13 said, shout out to the women's team. Grit and toughness was 110%. Refs played too much of a role at times. Absolutely, WVU Fan. 100% agree with you, man. But foul shooting disparity was 30-5. That's all you need to know.
Mike, the Vandy.
Yep. What do you think about that move?
It's a good hire. I guess Chris
Agreed.
Baxter fell apart for them or something.
Must have, yeah. I thought he was all but a lock there.
If you're going to get it, but that's a tough job for Byington. He'll be able to prove himself there. You know, if he wins at Vanderbilt, he'll be on every list in the country.
Agreed. With their academic standards that they have there, it's not an easy place to recruit. Yeah,
he's probably going to bring his guys with him. You know.
Yeah, sure. I would. The ones that are obviously the ones that are going to have to play at that level. Which, I mean, Edwards. Well, the one guy's graduating, isn't he? Their best player, isn't he? A senior?
No, not Terrence Edwards.
He's not.
No,
okay. I thought he was. My fault.
Well, I mean, Force of Morgantown was saying over and over again. So I just assumed, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay.
He may be a senior.
I haven't looked it up. I just thought when I watched the game the other night, they were saying he wasn't. He was, but they may have been talking about somebody else. Some of the dumbest basketball I've ever seen is what Charles Barkley said about Bryce Drew, I guess.
I don't know what's going on here. I can't get my headphones to charge.
All right. Man. No worries, man. I can hear you. I can hear you. No big deal. I can hear you just fine.
Right. My stuff's almost dead. We've been on here for an hour. My battery's almost dead and everything.
Oh, I know. That's cool. I'm about ready to jump off here anyway. Do you have anything else you want to say before we call it a night?
No. I think we pretty much got it all in. Be looking out for more videos about the transfer situation, guys.
Absolutely. And there'll be news breaking, I'm sure, in the next several days, and we'll try our best to cover it for you guys. Anyway, we appreciate everybody hopping on here. It's late. It's 11:38 p.m. here on the East Coast, but we appreciate everybody coming in. Thanks for the support. Proud of the Lady Mountaineers team for the way they played tonight. They honestly at times look like the better team, and excited about what's to come for West Virginia men's team as well. So we're calling it a night. Thanks to Dutch Miller Automotive for sponsoring us, and we're done.